And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit.
The civil case against Jay-Z is finished. Legally, completely, permanently finished. The woman who accused him of helping Diddy assault her when she was 13 walked away from her own lawsuit in February of this year. She dismissed it with prejudice, which is the legal system's way of saying she can never bring it back, ever. Jay-Z called it a victory. He said the allegations were frivolous, fictitious, and appalling. He said the system failed. But here is what he did not do. He did not walk away. He did not celebrate quietly. He did not let the case go. Instead, he is now countersuing his accuser. He is trying to bankrupt her. Before any of this even started, he promised in writing that he would not give her lawyer one red penny. That was not a defense. That was a warning. And the warning is still active.
Blistering statement. Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away."
So, let us sit with that for a second. A woman says something happened. She files a civil case. Months later, she drops it. She cannot refile. The legal door slams shut. The man she accused, instead of breathing a sigh of relief and moving on with his billion-dollar life, decides to hunt her down in court. He is not defending himself anymore. There is nothing left to defend. The case is gone. He is punishing her. That is the part that makes your stomach turn if you look at it for more than 5 seconds. What exactly is he trying to accomplish now? He already won. She withdrew. She admitted on the record that she made mistakes, and still, he is coming for her money. The dismissal itself sounds clean, voluntary, with prejudice. Those words make it sound like the accuser looked at her own story and decided it did not hold up. But that is not quite what happened. Jane Doe sat down with NBC News in December of last year. She said, and I want to quote this exactly, "I have made some mistakes. I may have made a mistake in identifying." She never said the assault did not happen. She never recanted the core claim. She admitted she got something wrong about who did what. Jay-Z's team pounced. They took those words and used them to argue that the whole case was a fabrication. Then, a few months later, her own lawyers asked the court to dismiss everything with prejudice. No coming back.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact.
That alone would already be a strange, uncomfortable story. An accuser admits an error. The case collapses. The wealthy defendant celebrates. But that is not where we are. After the case was resolved, Jay-Z filed a countersuit against Jane Doe and her lawyer, Tony Busby. Think about the timing. The case was already dismissed in February. The countersuit came in March. He waited until she had no legal weapon left. Then he struck. That is not self-defense. That is retaliation. He is not asking for a symbolic dollar. He is seeking damages. He wants to bankrupt her. He wants to make sure she cannot afford to breathe without thinking about what happens when you accuse Sean Carter of something. His own words make this even harder to explain away. In that December statement, he said, "I will not give you one red penny." He kept that promise. He did not settle. He did not pay. But he did not stop there. Now he wants to take her money instead. He wants to drain her. He wants to leave her with nothing. In a GQ interview published in March of this year, he said the lawsuit caused him uncontrollable anger. He said, "Settling ain't in my DNA." He said he would rather endure. Those are not the words of a man who is relieved to be exonerated. Those are the words of a man who is furious that someone dared to try. And here is where the story stops being about one case and starts being about something much larger. What Jay-Z is doing right now is not about justice. It is not about clearing his name. His name is already clear in the legal sense. The case is dismissed. No jury convicted him. No judge found him liable. He can walk down any street in America and say he won. But he is not walking away. He is making sure that every potential accuser who might be watching learns the same lesson. You come for him, he destroys you. Even if you drop the case, even if you admit you made a mistake, even if you have no way to ever sue him again, he will find you. He will drag you into court. He will try to take everything you have.
But there are people who have been indicted in the public space, and it hasn't been true. And so I think Jay-Z's tone was exactly. But see, I saw Puffy say the same, and then a video came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the message. And it is impossible to miss. His legal team, led by Alex Spiro, has already signaled that they are going after Jane Doe for extortion and false claims. They are not just defending, they are prosecuting. They are treating the accuser like a criminal. And they are doing it in full view of the public, with the full weight of a billionaire's legal budget behind them. The same legal team that forced the case into dismissal is now turning around and using the dismissal as proof that she lied. Do you see the trap? She drops the case. He says that proves she was lying. Then he sues her for lying. There is no way out of that logic once the machine starts moving. But let us be honest about something. The original accusation was never clean. It was never simple. The amended complaint filed in December of 2024 included details that were always going to be difficult to prove. A 13-year-old girl at an MTV Video Music Awards afterparty in September of 2000, a driver who invited her, a drink she believed was altered. Diddy, with what the filing called a crazed look in his eyes. Thrown against a wall. Jay-Z removing her clothes. Assaulted while Diddy and an unnamed female celebrity watched. Those are the allegations that were on the public record. Those are the allegations that Jay-Z called a blackmail attempt. And those are the allegations that, a few months later, disappeared from court forever. But the dismissal did not erase the fact that those words were filed. It did not erase the headlines. It did not erase the image. That story already happened in public. It already burned itself into the conversation. Now, instead of a trial, instead of sworn testimony, instead of any kind of resolution, we have a countersuit. A billionaire trying to grind a woman into dust. A lawyer, Tony Busby, who set up a hotline for Diddy victims and claimed 12,000 calls in 24 hours. Now fighting for his own professional survival. Busby is facing his own countersuit from Jay-Z. He is being accused of extortion. His firm is under investigation by private teams that Jay-Z reportedly hired. This is not a legal dispute anymore. This is a war of attrition.
People gonna believe what they want to believe anyway, so, I mean, why waste my time?
And sometimes you respond to something that brings way more attention to it, too.
That too, and it's just, yeah, it goes into another space, and then you just like, oh, y'all not listening?
And the really strange part is that Jay-Z's own lawyer has tried to distance him from Diddy entirely. In December of last year, Alex Spiro told reporters that Jay-Z and Diddy knew each other professionally for a number of years. He said, "There is no closer association between any of them." That is what the lawyer said. But the public record says something else. Decades of collaborations, joint concerts, $1 million hurricane relief donation together in 2005. Diddy speaking at Jay-Z's events. Jay-Z appearing in a video tribute for Diddy's Lifetime Achievement Award. They were not strangers. They were not distant colleagues. They were two men who ran in the same elite circles, attended the same parties, and supported each other publicly for years. Now, the lawyer is asking us to believe it was all purely professional. Why would he need to say that unless the association itself looked bad? That is the friction point that keeps this story alive. If Jay-Z had nothing to do with Diddy, if their relationship was as distant as Spiro now claims, then why did Jane Doe name them together? Why did she describe an assault involving both men? Why did she say a female celebrity watched? And why has that female celebrity never been identified? The complaint mentioned her. The media reported on her. But no name ever surfaced. No one came forward. No one confirmed. No one denied. She is just a ghost in the filing, a witness who may or may not exist, who may have been paid off, threatened, or simply invented. We do not know. And because the case was dismissed with prejudice, we may never know. So now we are in this bizarre space where the legal system has done its job. The case is closed. The paperwork is signed. But the story is wider than ever. Jay-Z is still countersuing. Jane Doe is still facing financial ruin. Tony Busby is still fighting to save his reputation. Diddy is still in prison on an unrelated criminal conviction, serving 50 months for violating the Mann Act, while Jay-Z walks free with no criminal charges at all. Same party. Same year. Same accusation. One man is behind bars. The other is suing his accuser for daring to speak. That contrast alone should make you uncomfortable, because it raises a question that no court can answer. What is the difference between the man who fell and the man who did not?
To the evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right? More than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right? In addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right? That she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who...
The difference is not evidence. The difference is power. Power that looks like a countersuit. A legal team that moves faster than the press can report. A billionaire who promised not to pay a penny, and then turned around to take pennies from someone who has almost nothing. The case against Jay-Z is over. The war against his accuser is still active. The only question left is not whether he did it. That question is no longer legally valid. The only question now is, who gets destroyed next? Because that is how this system works when the powerful win. They do not just win. They make sure no one ever tries to fight them again. The federal government moved on Diddy long before Jane Doe ever added Jay-Z's name to a complaint. That is the first thing you need to understand about why one man is in prison and the other is at home. Diddy was arrested in September. The investigation had been running for months. The civil cases were already stacking up. He had a target on his back that was painted before this specific accusation even existed. Jay-Z never had that. His name appeared in one amended filing in December, and within weeks, his legal team had already filed an extortion lawsuit against the accuser's lawyer. One man waited to be hit. The other hit first. That is not evidence. That is strategy. And strategy won. Now, Diddy is sitting in a federal facility while his lawyers try to undo a conviction that, according to them, never should have happened. In July of last year, a jury found him guilty on 2 counts of violating the Mann Act. He was acquitted on the bigger charges, the ones that could have put him away for life, but the judge still gave him 50 months. And here is where it gets legally strange. The judge was allowed to consider evidence from the charges where the jury said, not guilty. That is the rule. Judges can look at the full picture of a defendant's behavior, even conduct that did not lead to a conviction. Diddy's lawyers say that is unfair. They argue the sentence should have been based only on what the jury actually found. The prosecution says that is how the system has always worked. Now, an appeals panel is stuck in the middle, trying to figure out which side is right.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate, and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70, that's when they start talking about letting him come.
The hearing happened on April 9th of this year. 2 hours of arguments. The judges called it an exceptionally difficult case. That is polite court language for, we have no idea what to do with this. Diddy's lawyer argued that the judge did not properly explain why he added extra time based on acquitted conduct. The prosecutor argued that the violence and coercion were part of how the Mann Act offenses were carried out, so of course the judge should consider them. No ruling yet. It could drop any day. If Diddy wins, even partially, it does not just help him. It changes the rules for every federal sentencing going forward. That is not a small appeal. That is a potential earthquake. But the really wild part of Diddy's appeal is the argument his lawyers made about the so-called freak-offs. They stood before a federal court and said these events were not what the prosecution claimed. They described them as highly choreographed performances involving costumes, role-play, and staged lighting. They said everything was filmed so Diddy and his partners could watch it later. And they argued that this makes it non-commercial adult content, protected speech under the First Amendment. That was their actual argument. Not a joke. Not a headline grab. A formal legal filing in the United States Court of Appeals.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
The prosecution called it meritless. They said Diddy did not run an adult entertainment studio. They said he hired people for his own purposes and sometimes participated himself. But the fact that the argument even made it to an appellate panel tells you something about how strange this case has become. The judges did not dismiss it outright. They listened. They asked questions. They called the whole thing exceptionally difficult. Now, everyone is waiting to see if a federal court is going to rule that filming certain private encounters turns them into protected speech. If that happens, the ripple effects go far beyond Diddy. So while Diddy fights for his freedom from inside a cell, his former close associate is walking around New York like nothing happened. And that brings us back to something Jay-Z's own lawyer said that still does not sit right. In December of last year, Alex Spiro told reporters that Jay-Z and Diddy knew each other professionally for years. He said, "There is no closer association between any of them." Think about that phrasing. He did not say they were strangers. He did not say they barely knew each other. He said there was no closer association. That is a very careful, very lawyerly way to create distance without actually lying. But the public record makes that statement look absurd. Decades of collaborations. Joint concerts. $1 million hurricane relief donation presented together in 2005. Diddy speaking at Jay-Z's Rock Nation brunch. Jay-Z appearing in a video tribute for Diddy's Lifetime Achievement Award. These were not two men exchanging polite nods at industry events. They were part of the same tight circle for years, supporting each other publicly, attending the same parties, showing up for the same milestones. Now, after one of them is convicted, the other's lawyer wants us to believe it was all purely professional. Why say that? Unless the association itself looks bad.
Why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup.
And that is not the only thing that makes you stop and think. Remember the unnamed female celebrity from Jane Doe's complaint, Celebrity B. She was in the room. According to the filing, she watched. She has never been identified. Not in any court document. Not in any press report. Not in any leak. She is a ghost. If she exists, if she actually saw what Jane Doe described, she holds the only independent testimony that could confirm or contradict the entire story. But she has not come forward. And with the case dismissed with prejudice, she may never have a reason to. Maybe she was paid off. Maybe she was threatened. Maybe she was never there at all. We do not know. That is the problem. The case ended without ever answering that question. Now zoom out again. Tony Busby, the lawyer who filed the original complaint, set up a hotline for Diddy victims. He claimed 12,000 calls came in within 24 hours. That number is self-reported. It could be inflated. But even if only a fraction of those calls were real, it suggests a scale far beyond one night in 2000. And now, Tony Busby is fighting for his own survival. Jay-Z has countersued him. His firm is under investigation by private teams. He is being accused of extortion. The lawyer who built his reputation on taking on powerful men is now being crushed by one. That is not justice. That is a warning to every other lawyer who might consider doing the same. And the warnings do not stop there. Look at what has been said about Jay-Z over the years. Not in court filings, but in the culture. Kanye West has been quoted saying, "Jay-Z, I know you have associates. Please don't send them after me." Whether you believe he said it or not, that quote has taken on a life of its own, because it fits a pattern. People who have worked around Jay-Z describe a security team that includes former Secret Service agents, someone scanning rooftops for threats, even tools designed to disrupt paparazzi cameras. That is not normal. That is the setup of someone who wants the world to believe he is untouchable.
Jay-Z was in love with Brandy then. He's not in love with her now, but he still has love and feelings towards her. He's one of those people that feels like once he done had you and once he done loved you, he always feels like he has like possession over you. Jay-Z is one of those kind of men, baby. I don't know if they told you.
There is also the documented incident from 1999. Jay-Z was sentenced to 3 years of probation for a stabbing at a nightclub in New York. The victim later said Jay-Z was not the one who actually stabbed him. But the fact remains, he was in the middle of a violent incident that sent someone to the hospital. That is on the record. That is not a rumor. Then there are the rumors that continue to circulate, the ones about shooting his own brother, about stabbing someone over counterfeit music. Those claims are not proven. They come from anonymous sources and online speculation. But they keep appearing. They keep resurfacing. And at a certain point, a pattern of whispers starts to feel like its own kind of smoke.
Puffy independent. All the people that got hated on in the game, look where they ended up. So I can see my future. I can see what's going on here. This independency is gonna be big. I'm gonna have my own. But this ain't to just target him. I just a book about my life, a movie about my life.
So, here is where we are after all of this. Diddy is in prison, fighting an appeal that could change federal law that Jay-Z is free, countersuing his accuser, surrounded by a security apparatus that looks like it belongs to a head of state. The accuser is facing financial ruin. Her lawyer is fighting for his career. An unnamed celebrity witness may or may not exist. The civil case that started everything is gone, dismissed with prejudice, never to return. The legal system has done its job on paper, but the story is wider, stranger, and more dangerous than when it began. The question was never really whether Jay-Z would be held accountable in court. That question is resolved. The question now is what happens to everyone else who gets in his way. The accuser, the lawyer, the next person who thinks about speaking up, the witness who has not come forward. The system showed us exactly how this works. The powerful do not defend, they destroy. And they keep destroying long after the case is closed.
You know, for the lawyer Busby to say that his private investigator team's following him around, going around to people, his acquaintances, trying to purchase information and dirt about him, you going up against a billionaire. Like, your law firm isn't as wealthy as this man and his wife. So, what do you think happens when a billionaire decides to make an example out of someone who already lost? And do you think Celebrity B will ever break her silence? Drop your theories in the comments. We are watching that appeal ruling, and we will be back the second it drops.